Greetings everyone, this is Char and welcome to the Just Ask Char advice channel. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if you have any questions for advice, email me at JustAskChar@gmail.com. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and click the bell for notifications when I drop a video or go live. I have a letter from a young lady and ready to get right into it. She writes, "Dear Char, I am having a problem at my job. The problem is one of my coworkers almost always do a no call, no show, which means someone else has to cover for her. That someone else is usually me. Her excuse for not coming to work is usually because I didn't feel like coming here. At first it wasn't a problem because I was making extra money. It has now become a problem. My supervisor doesn't ask if I can stay past my scheduled time. He tells me to stay past my scheduled time. A lot of times, he's telling me to stay during the times I really can't stay. When I applied for the job, I gave my availability. However, my supervisor tries to get me to cover for another girl's shift when she is calling off. If I tell him I really can't stay or come in, he'll constantly call me and text me until I will answer. What should I do about this situation?" Thank you so much for your letter. I want to welcome you to the world of being dependable. It is a place like no other. It has its rewards and it has its penalties. And I'll share both with you. One particular contract I had, I was extremely dependable. I would work if I'm asked to stay late, asked to come in early. Either way, my supervisor would be looking for me. He used to pick me because I would always be on time and I would come in at least like 30 minutes early because I don't like to rush. I want to get to work, put my things down, get situated, check my email, get my water, coffee, whatever I need to do. And because he noticed that I was always there and didn't call off and all those different things, he used to always would ask if I, could come in early or stay late. It started there. Then he would even ask for advice and ideas about different things. If I was going out for lunch, he may ask if I can pick something up, and oftentimes he would pay for my lunch. So that was the perk. And then also I was given extra time. So he's like, don't worry about it. You can come back a little later. So I didn't have to rush back, trying to beat the clock, as they would say. And also it had its penalties. And this was the particular penalty that I did not like. Because I was dependable, Saturdays is the day that most people would call off because it's a weekend. And paydays always fell on a Friday, so that kind of went hand in hand. And what ended up happening is there was an event coming up, and I knew about it a month in advance. So I requested to have 4 hours off. Not the entire Saturday, just the first 4 hours of my shift. And I was going to make up the hours because the way they had it set up, if you were absent or had to leave early or anything like that, they would allow you to make up your time as long as you make it up by that Sunday. So I was going to come in earlier, or I was going to come in on my off day and just do the 4 hours and then have the rest of the day to myself. However, I put the time in, as I said, at least 30 days early. And a week go past, no response. 2, and my supervisor let me know that he put the request in and he'll let me know, shortly. Another week went past. I'm wondering what's going on. I mean, how hard is it to, just go ahead and say yes, so I can figure out what I was going to choose to do between coming in early, staying late, or coming in on my off day to make up the 4 hours. This was going on all this time with my coworkers. They would call off, leave early, come in late, all of those things, and they were making up their time. So the week of my event that was coming up, my supervisor pulled me to the side and had me to read his email. He received an email that was sent to him by his manager. And the manager wrote that my time would not be approved. So they were telling me I couldn't even take off the 4 hours that Saturday, nor make it up if I was to take it. So I'm looking like, huh? And the reason on this email was personal time was not approved because of the company needs. And I just looked at my supervisor and we both were shaking our heads. However, my supervisor said, hey, you're my dependable person. Take that time off. Don't worry about it. And as far as the penalty, I wasn't able to make the time up, so I actually lost 4 hours. But because I wanted those 4 hours, I didn't have a problem. So as I stated, there are rewards and there are penalties for being dependable. Now for your issue, which is really the biggest issue with your supervisor, I'll share a story with you with that. I had this particular contract and it was lunchtime. So I left the work area, had my lunch, and I went on to go to a quiet place where I can look out the window and just look at the water. So on my way to this particular area, I ran into a couple, and the wife, she asked, oh, can you take our picture? And I think there was a statue or poster or something other, I'm not for certain. And she asked if I could take a picture. So I told her no. And her face dropped, and I continued walking to the area where I was going to go sit down. And she came over to me and she bent over slightly because I was sitting down at this time. And she told me, she said, "You are rude." And I looked up at her and I, told her thank you. So I proceeded to look at my cell phone because I was checking my messages and everything. And I also was, going to pull my sandwich out and begin to eat. I only had 30 minutes. And at this time, I think I might have been down to 24 minutes because it takes a little minute to get to this particular area that I like to sit down at. And also I always go and wash my hands before I go eat. So the lady, she walked away. And so by this time I've had maybe eaten a couple of bites maybe. deleting emails, whatever, responding. And she comes back over and she says, "I'm going to report you. What's your name?" And I look up at her. I said, "My name is Miss." She said, "What is your name?" And I answered, "My name is Miss." And she started talking about something, I don't know. And I, bit into my sandwich. And I'm continually to look at my phone and check my emails and everything. And I realized I'm kind of tired of her standing here while I'm eating. And I looked up at her and I asked her, I said, "Why did you ask me a question as if I had a choice?" And she just stopped and clutched her imaginary pearls and went on off to join her husband. He was checking out the view. He was, I guess he knows her. And that was the end of that. I didn't get that. Well, actually, I do get it. It's about the word no. People do not like the word no. People may ask you a question, but they're not really expecting you to say no. They're expecting you to give them what they want, do what they want, respond the way they want you to respond. And that is what's going on with your supervisor. At some time, whenever that was, you might have said no, but you didn't mean it because you went on and worked. And you gave him the green light to continue to do that and just keep trying to pressure you. You have to understand that you have options. If you didn't have an option, it would not have been posed as a question. It would have been posed as a command. Do this, do that. And people, they just get angry. They just don't like the word no. They want what they want, and that's it. However, you really have to learn early in life that if you just pander to people, if you're more concerned about how they feel or look at you or judge you because you don't go along to get along, it's going to be hard to deal with that. You have to live with the consequences. It is nothing like doing something that you don't want to do, especially if you have a choice. You have to stand on your no. Sometimes an explanation is not necessary. Now, of course, if you're teaching a child, they don't understand. So yes, you have to give them an explanation. They don't understand. They're learning. But when it comes down to adults, you don't have to give an explanation. The most you have to give is your answer, which may be no. I learned in my late 20s that I had to say no in order for me to be comfortable in how I operated. And if my mother was still with us today, she would tell you, anybody can get this no. Your supervisor has crossed your boundaries. He has no respect for you, and he has no respect for your time. I suggest this particular time you have a conversation with him, and in that conversation you let him know what your available time is, and you stand by that. Also, ask that he do not text you or call you, but do let him know if you are available, you will call and text him. If he does call or text you, do not respond. Because in your letter you had not stated anything about retaliation, I don't think you have anything to worry about when it comes down to that. It is never too late to learn. I wish you the best, and stand on your no.
Oh, hell no!
Thank you everyone for tuning back in to JustAskChar. I appreciate it. And I also will ask that you guys do email me your questions for advice to JustAskChar@gmail.com. And who knows? Your letter may be the next letter I read. And until the next letter, peace.